Hello from the Yarn Closet in Tucson, Arizona. I am your host, Laura. Yarn Closet AZ on Instagram and the Yarn Closet blog over on Patreon. And this is Chip. Hi, Chip. He's my 8-year-old, party poodle. That's where they're two colors. He's my total lap dog. I got him as a birthday present for myself when I turned 40. And he's just been great. Yes. So I don't know if he's going to jump off my lap and go bark at something he can see out the main window or what. I am hopefully getting some decent sound from where I have the microphones clipped, and I was going to do some instructional stuff today, but I'm not sure I'm up for it. 2 days of migraine caused by getting my neck tweaked. Magnus, the big pit bull mix, pushed me all the way up one night in bed, so I was all tucked weird up against the headboard. Oh my God. And I might have a little bit of a flu too. I'm feeling a bit fluish, so I don't know. But I'm going to try something, and I would like some feedback. And we're going to figure out how that's going to go. So I thought I would just do my weekly Wednesday watch video, and it's getting posted much later in the day. Thank you to everyone who supports us on Patreon and PayPal, and who follows us on Patreon and Instagram and here on YouTube. We did get fourth quarter gifts sent out, and I believe 1 out of 2 has been received. 1 went to Canada. I don't think she has hers yet. And I'm so glad that people have touched base regarding family and holidays and all kinds of stuff. Hold on, my mother just texted me. I don't know if we're going to have a kitty one this year or not. So I thought if you went to Lowe's that they could still do colors of paint that they don't necessarily carry, because they all have the computer lookup things. But, well, maybe not. My husband just left to go camping for a couple of days, and so I am going to paint this. And I believe that I'm going to paint it a light pink. Hold on. Hasn't really eaten lunch. She can eat a bunch of food all at once. So I'll let her have the lollipop, but if she needs some kind of lunch food, make sure she eats some kind of lunch food too. Oh, Chip, don't mess up our stuff. So, you want to hear this with hands? Okay, so he's gone, so that was a couple of things that would kind of annoy him if he was home while I was doing them. I'm just making room for Chip, because Chip gets very particular, let me tell ya. And Sadie needs to stop barking at the neighbors. They're the same stinking neighbors we've always had. So I'm going to paint this. I think I'm going to paint it pink, kind of a dusty, mauve-y, light pink, but not a dark mauve, light. Because I am using color to cope with the stresses in my life. Color, people, color. This is my favorite bit of yarn, but I do wear a lot of other goofy stuff because it's cold in the morning when we get on that little scooter. The dog barking distracts me. Shenanigans, that's what I was saying. Yesterday, we took Prue over to my 4-year-old to the dentist because she was in the process of losing her bottom 2 front teeth. She's always looked like she had very good teeth, whereas my older son, his teeth kind of came in a little wonky and whatever. But she's a thumb sucker. And then what we noticed after she lost the tooth and right before we took her to the dentist is, and it wasn't her first time, she'd been a couple other times, is that she had a brown cavity. They were quite surprised at how deep that one went. And they found a few other spots, and they found possibly the one straight above it, and these were both on her 10-year-old molars, the ones that won't fall out till she's 10. So we made the appointment to go in yesterday to basically do the fillings. And they said because of how bad and big this one is, possibly they were just going to, instead of putting a little filling stuff in it, just drill it out and then put the filling stuff and then put a metal cap over it. So we get there and we go to a really good specialist dental place because my son is very sensitive about stuff and they're really nice. The dentist said, you know, he said after reviewing all of her x-rays and stuff, he's like, I believe she has hypoplasia. He's like, because she has so many other small spots. And my dad has hypoplasia. This is something having to do with having weaker enamel. So he said, we're going to try to do this business with the stuff. He's like, but sometimes the 4-year-olds just don't do well. And I'm thinking, well, but other little kids get this stuff done. We got it done when we were little. And he's like, so we're going to put gas on her, and there's a couple we're going to do over here that really don't need any Novocaine, but we're going to give her gas. And I'm like, I really wish they wouldn't have given her gas right off the bat and would have just tried to do that. And then if they would have numbed her before they did the Novocaine shot on the other side, I don't think she would have needed gas. Because the bottom line was, the only reason she couldn't sit in that chair and manage through it, because she's a tough little cookie, is that the gas made her loopy and she didn't like the feeling of it. But you know, they don't listen to parents anymore, which drives me batty. So now they want us to take her in and sedate her. And because she has this hypoplasia, what they want to do is they want to do these, and the ones over here on her 10 and 12-year molars. So what they want to do is they just want to actually put the metal caps on all of her 10 and 12-year molars as a preventative measure, because they said with kids with this hypoplasia, we put in the little white colored filling, and every year, year and a half, they're coming out. And I'll tell you, I don't like the idea of having to sedate her. It freaks me out. But on the other hand, I know it's going to be just fine. And I know she's going to be just fine. The hardest part is going to be dealing with my husband, because it's going to upset him so much. Maybe Grandpa will just have to drive us that day. I don't know. We'll have to see what he says. But that is our shenanigans. I'm telling you, had they not given her the gas, I think she would have gotten through it. Absolutely think she would have gotten through it, even the Novocaine shots, because the numbing gel that they have nowadays is so good. The thing that made her not be able to sit still for the stinking procedure was the gas. So anyway, that's my little 2 minutes of parenting dilemma. Oh. Oh. Is my brightness still kind of low enough? I think so. Do I have a picture here? Well, where are all my pictures? That's Candy the cat. We have adopted my mom's cat. So now we have Candy, who predominantly lives in Prue's room, and we have Angel, who predominantly lives in Connor's room. They do run back and forth in the hallways and come out in the evenings. It's just that they don't like the Magnus. But we weren't sure how well the cats were getting along until Magnus came up behind Candy and freaked her out, and then Angel ran to her rescue. And Candy doesn't have any claws, and she doesn't bite. You'd think she'd bite if she didn't have claws, but she's quite a bit older. She's like a 16-year-old cat. So Prue is just in hog heaven, and of course she already knew the kids, so she likes them. And she knew Sadie and Chip, although she's not a big fan of Sadie. Her and Chip tolerate each other the same way Angel does, because they're all about the same size. Although Chip is 12 pounds, Angel is 8 pounds, and Candy's about 6. So that's also shenanigans. Because my mom is listing her townhouse on Friday, and things have been selling so fast in Tucson that they're pretty sure things are going to be wrapped up with a sale within the first 2 weeks, and then it's just waiting the 45 to 60 days for close, and they are moving over to a 55 plus community that my dad also lives at. So how convenient is that? I could take both kids over, and one can visit one and one can visit the other. And when I say I can take them over, Ed can take them over, my stepdad, because he drives actually for all of us, because my 80-year-old dad doesn't drive anymore. And so, yeah, people are like, what? Your stepdad drives your dad to doctor appointments? Yes, he does. Because he's a nice man, and that's the right thing to do, to just be nice to people. Just be nice. It's so much easier. So then in this whole hypoplasia thing, Prue eats all the time, constantly. The doctor said the number one thing to do at home is to get her to eat a meal, wait 2 to 4 hours before she eats her snack or the next meal. Try to get long blocks of time between food, only water in the interims. Because the best thing for your teeth, apparently, per this dentist, and the hypoplasia, is to let that saliva work in the mouth. And if you're constantly eating, your mouth's not ever getting that break that it needs. Good God, it's ridiculous. I mean, if it's not one thing, it's another. I don't want my daughter to have to go through this. I don't want to have to spend all this money. It's nuts. So I've been knitting. Remember how I was going to clear out my bottom shelf here? It's not quite cleared out. But I did find this little doodad. And it was the start of a blanket. I ended up just finishing it off, and then, what is that? That is weird. And then I was going to make it a runner, but I don't really like it for a runner. I think what I'm going to do, because we have a donation thing at my church, is I'm going to finish this edge, this smaller edge, and I'm going to put a frog here. I'm going to finish this smaller edge to make it more of a neckline, so it can be like a little cape for a small child. I don't know. or one of their dolls. I don't know. And then I made a bunch of coffee cozies. And I didn't get my table moved close enough. And I'm working on this, not sockhead hat. No, this is like a Midas hat. A Midas hat is just, well, there's a row of purling, I think, in the Midas pattern. I'm not sure. But mine is just straight stockinette, folded brim. I don't do the provisional cast on. I actually do just a 3-needle bind off. I just weave a needle in to the beginning edge once I get to where I want to be, and then I 3-needle bind off, so you can kind of see that. And I'm just gonna keep going, and it's slow going. It's very slow going. But I'm making that for my 80-year-old dad. He shaves his head now because it's thin, and he still golfs in the wintertime, and it's been a chilly one, so whatever. And I cranked a couple of tubes that I am making into fingerless gloves in this lovely color. My daughter said she wanted some like my funky pear, so I've got this and this, and I'm just leaving them long. I'm going to do 1x1 ribbing on the end here, and then I'm going to cut a thumb hole in and just do a bind off row. So I'm basically going to do like I'm cutting in for her like a 12-stitch heel off to the side, but then just bind off all those stitches, and I'm not adding anything else in. And it will be longer on her, so the fact that it's looser and stuff, it's going to be 1x1 ribbed here, so it should hopefully be a little tighter on her hand. I don't know. You know, she wants this stuff, but, you know, they all want the stuff, but then they never really use the stuff. However, my husband, who didn't want anything made out of yarn, anything, and he goes through socks so fast that if he let me make him some thicker socks that actually last, he's had me make him a couple of hats, and he actually likes them and wears them. And one of them he actually told me to start wearing because it was cute on me, and not many hats are cute on me. I've made a couple of the little turtlenecks. The yellow one with the slip stitch thing. Oh, it's right here. The little slip stitch detail. Because I did the first one all in 2x2 rib, and I like knitting rib. But I've always liked this goofiness of the slip stitch. It's hard for me to see it. Oh, and look, I missed one there. But I like it, and it gives it a little bit of something. This just is a little bit tight. So I'm trying to figure out the just perfect. Because it also rides, they need to have like a bigger bottom. And then, but I'm not good on my decreases and increases. I'm just not good. So I have to practice. I suppose this wouldn't be a bad thing to practice on. But then I started to make my son one out of this yarn that we thought was very red, white, and blue. But he says when it's actually knit up, it's more pink to him, in just a simple basket weave. So he wasn't real thrilled about it. So I decided to do it since I was about at my turtleneck length. And then I bound off, and I'm decreasing just in garter stitch. So hopefully I'll have a little triangle-ish section, although I might not go all the way to a point. You know, and the thing is, this decreased side, I mean, look at that. That looks really nice. That's decreased nicely. It's just a beautiful edge. Dude, what's the deal? This one is not so nice. So annoys me. I don't know what the deal is. I know when it's all said and done, it's probably not a big deal. But it just annoys me. I love garter stitch. What else have I done? Okay. I cranked up these 2 tubes. Because I am in love with anything gold right now. I'm in love with it. I never used to like yellow or gold. But now, is it the year of gold? Is it the year of ochre? Is it the year of yellow? Because it should be. So I had this, which was kind of a boring, flat, not even tonal, mini. And then I had this beautiful mini that had purples and speckles and some ochre, yellow. And then this lovely gray purple mini. So I just decided to do that because, once again, I'm going to do a small bit of ribbing at the end of this, and then I will cut the thumb in here. And a number of the ladies have commented on the pair that I wear, which is a mismatched pair. But they're a little fancier than me, so I don't know that they'd go for that. So I'm trying to make a little fancier, but fast make, which means crank some on the machine. And then I'm trying this. So I have a pair of ankle cuffs in this yarn that I love because this is a MCN. So it washes up really nice. It's super soft. And this is just kind of a boring flat merino. So I made a bigger cuff on this one to see how that fits. All I've got to do is bind off this end. And I could have done it on the machine. And I'm getting better at that. And my husband made me the tool. But I like the knitted bind off right now a little bit better. And then it's actually faster to just crank the tubes all at once, split them up. And I split them up with waste yarn. And then bind them off. Then to bind this one off, have to set the machine again, start again. And I know I'll get faster, and that's part of my goal for this year. To be honest, I wasn't thrilled with my sweater 2019. I love the challenge of doing a sweater. I have a really hard time following other people's patterns. My increases and decreases need a lot of work. So piecing things together is actually working better and using crochet to finish the pieces together. And I really want to get started on something, but I'm trying to be monogamous because what I'm finding is when I'm monogamous, especially on these smaller projects, is that boost of completion, but I'm also getting a little bit faster in my knitting. Whereas just when you get into those stockinette sections of the sweaters, I just slow down. So would the ladies like just the rolled edge with a thumb hole? Because I've done that for a couple of people and they weren't overly bothered by it. Maybe I'll try that because then it's an even faster thing to put together. So here is the thing. I can't do the tutorial today. The headache's already starting to overtake me again. Can you see this? Okay, this is my little camera magnifier that I sometimes use to magnify books. Also, I have it magnify my phone sometimes. Where are my hands? Okay. Can you actually see? Chip, you gotta move a little. I think it's upside down. It's it's a weird perspective. But do you think utilizing that behind here, like this setup, I mean, is it good enough for you to see what I'm doing if I'm trying to do a tutorial? Because, like, let's see. Can you see what I'm doing? Is it big enough? How much bigger can I go? Oops, sorry, Chip. Okay, I think I can go all the way up to 9. Now tell me, is that clear for you? Can you see? Oh. Can you see that back there? Can you see my hands? Would this work for trying to do some loom knitting tutorials or trying to do some sock tube tutorials on showing you basically how I work in the needles and deal with the fact that sometimes I just don't work them in quite right, so my stitches are twisted. And it's just really easy to untwist the stitches. If you find that you've picked them up in a twisted fashion, you just knit through the black loop. Only that one row, and then they're fine, and then they're normal. So does this work? Can you actually see this? I'm trying very hard to keep my hands in the one spot. And now if this is slightly blurred in that picture box, and I think this is blocking it a little bit. So tell me what you think. What did you think of that? So that's the deal. That is what I'm going to do. Prue is going to be home in about 3 hours. I just might be able to get this ribbing done on these two. Do you know what this yarn is? It's that lady that does pictures in the yarn. Like, I don't know how you dye yarn to know about the pictures, but the thing that I didn't like is that the sets are for like fingerless mitts and blah, 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 blah. But her gauge, this is fingering weight yarn, but to get the picture, your gauge had to be 7 stitches per inch. And I had a really hard time maintaining that gauge, so I never got the picture. So this one is like sheep with a blue background, and this is sheep with pink and rainbows. And now it just looks like Oreo cookie mitts. I don't know. But that didn't quite work for me. I'm eagerly awaiting my Kate Celine yarn and yarn holder mushroom. Because she does these crazy speckled stuff, but once again, she's from the UK, so, and I don't think she ships priority, but she does ship, so it's going to take like a month or so. So I'm eagerly waiting for that stuff. And then my yarn buying for the year is done. I mean, I bought a bunch of stuff during the end of the year sales, and that's just it. I'm done. I have plenty. I'm going to move forward with what I have. I may check my gauge on this while my husband's gone. I've done a few other gauge swatches because I'm really going to try to do the gauge swatches, figure out what needles with what size yarn, what do I like for the gauge, and then find the patterns that fit my gauge and stuff. In hopes that maybe helps me to follow the pattern. And I just want everything done right now. I just want all the things done. I can't have all the things done, so I just have to do the fast little things for right now. And then maybe I will be in a better place a little bit later this month or next month. The Christmas holiday break was really, really rough on me, which is also why I think I'm getting sick right away after Prue went back to school. It's just been one thing piled on after another thing, and it's just a stressful time of year for us. But I'm going to really enjoy the next few days with my husband gone. I'm going to get this thing painted. I'm having my mom and stepdad stop and buy a muted pink paint in a quart and a muted turquoise paint in a quart. And turquoise would kind of pull in, but it's not in that painting. I wanted to pick a color out of my heart painting because I do really feel like people need to remember that you should look with your heart first instead of your eyes. It's just so much easier. Have a great day and a great week. We will see you here again next week. Continue to watch for the free patterns over on the Yarn Closet blog on Patreon. And my mom's getting them loaded on, I'm helping her, we're both using her login, over on Ravelry to get the patterns uploaded there. And they're going on for $1 or $2, or they're just not going on because these people in the background tell you you've done something wrong, but then you try to get a hold of them and they never respond. But then the wrong thing is there and you can't delete it to start over. I am so annoyed because my sweater chicken pattern is now like up there, but not in any real functional way. I now understand why there are so many weird patterns that I click on a link and it just goes nowhere. I get it now. And somebody contacted my mom and said they remember me from my Looming Laura days. Isn't that sweet? So that's really encouraged me to move forward and try to make that sitting down, writing up pattern time. And every time another one of you contacts me and says, yeah, I'm legally blind, not everybody knows, and people are, don't understand how I do things, and I don't really want to explain it to them. I get it. I totally get it. I'm so glad that there are more of us out there. They're having problems with the paint. So who knows what color it'll be. Look with your heart first, and thank you so much for being here and supporting us in participation and buying patterns and downloading patterns and commenting and everything else. I just am over the moon. Oh, he says he thinks we're good to go. They don't know that when you get a photo texted to you, you actually have to open the whole photo to see all of it, because sometimes there's a little bit on the bottom or the top you don't see. Okay, bye guys. Look with your heart first, even with family.